message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS keeper.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas, this is Lighting the Void, and I am your host, Joe Root. It is Monday night, April the 6th on into the 7th, and we are live on the Fringe FM. You can call in at 1-800-588-0335 is the call-in number. Tonight, our guest, Scott Wolter, and his new book, The Cryptic Code. We're going to be talking about his new book as well as the Templars, Freemasonry, the Ancient Code. This is my kind of stuff here, so that's coming up just shortly. Also, I want to thank our sponsors, AncientLifeOil.com, GetTheTea.com, and MetaphoricalArchaeology.com. If you've had a paranormal experience that's caused you any type of trauma or post-traumatic stress, you can get a free session from Metaphorical Archaeology, a free EFT tapping session, which is pretty well successful, 70% with the military. But you get a free session through us with Barbara. You can give her a call at 214-995-3754. You can also donate to the show by going to lightingthevoid.com and donating. I want to really thank Ronnie for taking care of us here. It's a rough time for everybody, and we got our sponsorship package in the mail today and some new Heart Love. And, so a big shout out to Get the Tea as well. I want to thank all of you guys in the Fringe FM chat room for hanging out with us this weekend. Things are getting kind of tough, right, being quarantined. So when you're at home, a lot of our relationships that we have, whether it's friendships or just mutual acquaintances, things like that, are through online. So we've actually done some stuff in the Fringe FM chat. We were actually watching like tarot readings and stuff in there earlier. There's a stream session in the Fringe FM chat that's kind of cool. So I let everybody pretty much have access to that. So you guys can, I don't know, play video games with each other, talk to each other, do whatever you want. It's down there in the bottom of the Fringe FM chat. Just go to thefringe.fm/chat room. And also head over to ufoseekers.com, backed and supported by the Fringe FM and us here at Lighting the Void, too. If you want to keep that great journalistic approach to ufology, follow them at Twitter at UFO Seekers and at UFO Seekers and youtube.com/UFO Seekers. One thing I want to say too real quick is there's a lot of weird stuff going on with this that I don't want to sound too conspiratorial. Like, I can't do that, but there is some weird stuff. There's doctors coming out saying that I think I got to figure out what was the guy's name, the doctor that was talking about that. So he's saying that they're ventilators. His name was, what is his name? That's his name. Cameron Kyle Seidel, MD, in New York, was talking about how this whole thing doesn't make sense, that they're treating everybody wrong. They're using ventilators wrong or intubators wrong. You have to check it out. I'll probably drop that in the chat room too. It just seems a little weird, and then the Pentagon's going to be releasing this new satellite grid over the earth too that's supposed to be out in August. You got people in China ripping down like smart towers and stuff, and everybody's just getting a little bit too stir crazy. All right, so we just need to stay positive and just keep our eyes on the ball here, and then just kind of keep getting information to see what's going on with this, because nobody knows what's going to happen or when this is going to give. So let's just keep taking care of each other while we can, keep each other entertained and our minds focused. All right, and just have fun too. That's the best thing I can tell you to do, is laugh and have fun. All right, so let's get to our guest. Scott F. Wolter is a forensic geologist and television host. He is known best at the host of the series America Unearthed, and Wolter is based out of Minnesota, where he is the founder and president of the American Petrographic Services and the inventor of Archaeopetrography, a process used to date and understand the origins of inscribed stone artifacts. In addition to investigating and dating ancient artifacts, Wolter was involved in analyzing fire damage to the concrete at the Pentagon after the September 11th terrorist attacks, and has even helped the Las Vegas police investigate a homicide where a victim was found buried in concrete. His first television appearance was as a Kensington rune stone expert on the documentary Holy Grail in America, which indirectly resulted in Wolter hosting America Unearthed. Wolter is the author of several books on geology, the Knights Templar, and theories related to pre-Columbian contact. You can go check out his website there at scottwolteranswers.blogspot.com or ampetrographic.com. And so this stuff's kind of new to me. Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Yeah, this is interesting.
Well, thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it. And that was quite an intro there. You nailed Archaeopetrography. Everybody screws that one up, so good job.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I had to take a pause there and read it first a couple of times and then say it. Yeah. Well, what is that? What does that mean?
Well, Archaeopetrography is basically the microscopic analysis of artifacts and whatever else we might need to look at, but mostly lithic or stone artifacts like inscribed stones or carved images. But one of the things that we do is we look at archaeological artifacts from archaeological sites microscopically to try to tell them something about the age of these artifacts, which can be very helpful in certain instances, and we've had a lot of success with it, and it's actually blossomed, and it can really be a powerful tool. And the best example of that was obviously the Kensington runestone that started me on this whole alternative history adventure, and Archaeopetrography worked just perfect in that case.
Gotcha. All right, and so I understand too that I was talking to you earlier before the broadcast that you're a Freemason. I heard you talking about that on one of your interviews too, where that you actually believe that Freemasonry is a good thing. And now I've tried to talk to people about that too. And in the field that I am in, I don't think it doesn't come across right sometimes, or people just don't buy it, or they always talk about, well, what about the 33rd degree? Like there's just some big conspiracy about it all the time, or there's just this deal where, that it's been corrupted no matter what. But I got to tell you, even my experience, as kind of weird as it was in the South, Freemasonry it just seems like a beautiful thing to me. I don't know what your opinions are on it.
No, I think it is a good thing when it's done right. And you're talking about something that is ancient, right? And like all things over time, things tend to morph and evolve and change depending on different influences that might come into play. I mean, one example you and I talked about is there are certain parts of the country where Roman Christianity has a real strong foothold and has crept into some of the rituals and the degrees of Freemasonry. And make no mistake, Freemasonry is not Roman Christian. There are certainly Christian aspects to it, but the term Christianity doesn't automatically mean Roman Christian. There's different kinds of Christianity. But I think what I like about it, and I'll just paraphrase it as quickly as I can. In Freemasonry, we embrace all faiths, all religions, and really when you think about it, in all of these faiths around the world and throughout time, whatever you want to call deity, whether you're a Christian, a Buddhist, a Muslim, Jewish, whatever the case may be, that thing that you're venerating, regardless of what you call it, it's all the same thing. Indigenous people take their obligations on an eagle feather to the Great Spirit, right? There again, we're all talking about the same thing. We just give it a different name, and we honor it in different ways. And so that's really what it boils down to. When you take that obligation, we don't care what religion you are, because we are talking about the same thing. And the other thing about Freemasonry that I like is that we focus on things that unite us, not divide us. We stay away from talking about politics. We stay away from talking about religion, and I think it works really, really well. And when you dig into and you study the degrees and the history behind those degrees and the moral teachings and the symbolism and everything else that goes with it, it's really an amazing thing. And make no mistake, okay, this country was founded by Freemasons. The Constitution that we hear about every day is a Masonic document. I don't care what anybody says, those are the facts. Now, you can interpret that any way you want, but that's the way it came down, and might be a good idea for people, if they're curious, to go back and study that a little bit, because I think some of that, quite frankly, has been lost in this day and age. And, Freemasonry is not perfect, but the way it was originally crafted and designed is, I think, a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really is, and some of the coolest stuff I've learned about it, and as far as the esoteric goes, period. It all goes back to Freemasonry. Some of the best writers that I've known have been Freemasons. Manly P. Hall and Albert Pike. Massey,
yeah, absolutely.
They changed my life. They changed my outlook on spirituality and how I should treat people and how I should take care of myself and my neighbor and all of these different things. And it was beautiful. And I thought, well, what's wrong with this? And they started talking about ancient Atlantis and some of these books and ancient Egypt, things like that, where, we lived in a society that was based in consciousness and how we treat each other and that right. We held each other accountable for things, and there was prudence, and it's good to me. And I always thought it was good. But the Templar, I'm going to ask you this, what your thoughts are on this, and then we can get into your studies. I think that when the Templars got kind of taken out, I think that's when everything really, went underground and got changed. Now, I don't know for sure about the total history on that, but I've done some pretty deep studies. I'm just curious what you think about it.
Well, this gets into some really murky water sometimes, sure. But going back to the moral teachings of Freemasonry are they originated from what a lot of people call Atlantis. There was a high culture that existed prior to the flood, right? And there's a lot of discussion about that going back to the Younger Dryas period, which would be about 12,500 years before today, or 10.5 AD, that something catastrophic happened that caused the continental ice sheets to melt and sea level to rise anywhere from 300 to 400 feet. And when you think about that, if you lowered sea level now 300 to 400 feet, think about all the land that would be exposed, and think about all the archaeological sites that were buried when sea level rose. And some of those sites have been accidentally, artifacts have been recovered from them that tells us that, human cultures existed long before we thought they did. And a lot of these ancient sites, like in Egypt and Göbekli Tepe, and there's many of these megalithic sites around the world that we thought were a certain age. It turns out, upon further review, they're much older than we thought. And I just think that we're really going through what I consider to be a golden time of discovery. There's all kinds of new discoveries that are coming out. It seems like almost every day in archaeology and anthropology and geology. So it's really a fun time to be alive, except for this damn virus that's going around and has really thrown a curveball in everybody's lives. But I guess we just all have to keep things in perspective. But there certainly was a higher culture that existed. Exactly what happened and how it all trickled out and came down to us to this current time period is really still being investigated and figured out. We don't have the full story yet, so all I can say is stay tuned. There's more to come.
Fantastic. And now you have found some amazing artifacts, right? I'm talking about some really, really cool stuff, and some of these definitely look alien. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion.
Well, if you're talking about the artifacts that came out of Mexico, we did an episode this past year about them. Yes, those artifacts are fantastic, and I've looked at literally thousands of them, and I'm not sure what to think about them. And we've actually done some scientific work on them. We've done some C14 testing on some of the adhesives and on a pipe that still had some of the resin preserved, from being smoked. And some of the dates we got were just, unbelievable. But they go back to this Younger Dryas period that we're talking about, 10, 12, 15, 19, even 20,000 years ago. Stuff that just we just don't have any information. These artifacts came out of Mexico, and the farthest back that they can go is about 3,500 BC, which is 5,500 BP. Over 5,000 years ago, and that's it. They don't know who these cultures are, and it just opens up a whole new world of study that I think is really exciting.
What's cool too is when you look at this stuff, do you see what you would see as like astrological things or signs of space or people or things that come from space? I mean, the way that this looks to me is that, and I'm on your blog at, scottwalteranswers.blogspot.com, and I'm here thinking this is not normal. The eyes and stuff that they show is really what gets to me. I don't know. I can't think of any reason why that they would make their eyes like this. I mean, is that what sticks out to you the most on this stuff, or is it the date of the stone?
Certainly, the almond-shaped eyes do jump out. No doubt. But on many of them, there's just what can only be interpreted as spaceships. In some of them, it looks like they're beaming people down or beaming people up. In some cases, it looks like you have spacemen that are inside of spaceships. In other ones, you have what look like planets and like, asteroids or something,
right,
circling these planets, and some of them are exploding or sending material into other objects, what look like they're in space. It's just mind-blowing stuff. The other thing that I find really fascinating is on a bunch of these artifacts is what appears to be written script, almost like a language or an alphabet, but I don't think it's an alphabet because I've actually taken the time and I've written down, I've actually copied these symbols down, and I've done over 1,000 of them, and not one repeats.
Really?
There isn't one symbol that's exactly the same. And there's such a variety, and it's just incredible. It almost looks like it's, the symbols that would created by, I don't know, telepathic thought or something. I really don't know what it is, but how could somebody just dream this up? I would have a hard time believing that that's what's going on. They're just incredible.
And you see, when you do this stuff, I'm just very curious because I'm a big fan of this. And, to me, you're like a modern day Indiana Jones, right? You're really going out here and finding this stuff. So now you've become so popular. How do you know where to go? Do people give you tips? Do you have,
yeah. No, I get a lot of tips from people, and we've had those people on the show. They've taken me out to their sites, and we've investigated them as best we could, and in many cases we'll bring in experts with the proper expertise. I mean, I know a lot about certain things, certainly geology and the type of investigative work that we can do, but I'm not an archaeologist, I'm not a runologist.
Sure.
I'm going to go to the experts and get the best that I can to help me with the information that I need that I don't know. But the one thing I think I'm pretty good at is taking information that people give me, combine it with the things that I do know a lot about, and then try to draw a reasonable conclusion. And in many cases, the things that we look at are authentic and old, or they're legitimate, whatever the case may be, or sometimes they're not. I mean, we've had people try to pull fast ones on us, and we've caught them. And then, in some cases, we don't have enough information, and we can't draw a conclusion. And if you can't, you have to say so. I don't like that. I know that, people want answers, but sometimes the answer is, I don't know. And that's okay, too.
Yeah, I'd rather hear that than somebody, just try to make up something as much as possible and try to be right about everything all the time. That's very smart of you to say that, too, but...
nobody wants air blown up their rear end. I mean, we get enough of that in just everyday life. And, when I take it very seriously, the fact that, I'm professional licensed geologist. I'm obligated to do my job correctly. And it seems like sometimes that doesn't always happen out there. Let's just leave it at that, I guess.
Right, and I guess one of the last things I'll want to talk about before we go into our first break here is that you actually have discovered something, and this was in season 4 and episode 10 of Exodus of the Templars, where there is some kind of evidence that shows the Templars came to North America. Is that right?
Well, there's no doubt at all in my mind that they did. And yes, we were able to add to the already rich pool of evidence that, the Knights Templar did escape from Europe, and many of the Templar Knights and their descendants, their ideological descendants, did come to North America. They established relationships with the indigenous people here, and they were quite successful, and eventually passed that obligation of establishing a sanctuary where they could practice their faith and not be encumbered by the Roman Catholic Church and the tyranny of the monarchs of Europe. And we now call that sanctuary the United States of America, that was founded by Freemasons who were directly descended from the Knights Templar.
And do you think the thing is taking it at Freemasonry? I got to tell you, man, like Freemasonry in the South, and you nailed it. I've been really disappointed in it, but I do know that things could change, and I hope they do change here. But there are some other places in the United States that are really good.
Well, what you talk about is an issue, and it's something that happens. Culturally, when certain areas, and not just in the United States, but in other parts of the world, get indoctrinated with a certain belief system that they are comfortable with, and it starts to get to a point where, when they get enough numbers and it's the dominant thing, they tend to look down their nose at people that believe something else, and that's when things go in the ditch. And I think that's a little bit about what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, it is. And what do you think your first biggest discovery was? The one that really changed things for you?
Well, the thing that got me started on this whole journey was the Kensington runestone, without a doubt. In fact, that artifact, in my view, is the most important historical artifact in the history of this country and arguably in the world. And it was crafted by the Knights Templar, an initiated Cistercian monk, who carved this amazing inscription that has so much information embedded within it, allegory, symbolism, code, but its main function was to serve as a land claim. This was the primary land claim that really served as the basis for the founding of this New Jerusalem, or the Free Templar State is what they also called it. And again, that obligation was passed on to the Freemasons and our founding fathers, who were not only all Freemasons, they were also Knights Templar. They just didn't tell anyone.
Then how did you find out that information? Did you join the club, Scott? And you're just not telling anybody?
I'm also a Knights Templar.
That's what I thought. Yeah, pretty cool. Man. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just what happened, and part of what's going on here is there are, and here's the other thing about Freemasonry is that you can take it as far or as little as you want, and some guys are interested in going through the line, becoming masters of the lodge, and they like the titles and the medals and the jewels and all that stuff, and that's great, and that's wonderful. Some guys are more into the esoteric side, like myself, and it sounds like you, Joe. And there's all kinds of different avenues that you can pursue in Freemasonry, but it's up to you. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. Nobody is pressuring you to say anything or be anything or do. It's up to you. And Freemasonry is like a lot of things in life. It's what you make of it. And what I love about it is there's all kinds of different avenues that you can pursue, right? And for me, it's research. And that's what I like to do. I certainly support my brothers that are going through the line, and obviously I respect the master of the lodge. But, once he's done, he goes back to being a regular brother. Obviously he's a past master, but there's some really good lessons that the line teaches. And there's just so many good avenues to it, and I think there's something for everybody, I absolutely agree. We got to take our first break here. When we come back, I want to talk about your new book, because I think it's fascinating. Cryptic Code, the Templars in America, and the Origins of the Hooked X. We're going to talk about how there's a story here in North America that's vastly different than what we've been told. That and more. That's right.
We'll be right back.
All right.
Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
All right, man. This is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath, no garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves. Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at getthetea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com and build your shields. That's getthetea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
Right, me old Chiners. I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Light in the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you're interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
Scott Wolter, our guest tonight, and we are talking about his new book, Cryptic Code, The Templars in America and the Origins of the Hooked X. And apparently this new book it explores new scientific findings and recently discovered documents that show a vastly different story of our North American history. Now, this is something that we have been talking about for a long time here. There's a lot of evidence about that, but you have come up with some really fascinating stuff in this book, I hear. And why did you title it first The Cryptic Code? Was it about what was left behind or some type of messages, or did you find ciphers, or what did you find?
Well, basically what happened was, you and I in the last segment were talking a lot about Freemasonry and about, the differences and changing over time and geography and all that. But when I was doing a lot of my research on the runestone and the Templars and Newport Tower and all these things that they left behind, right? I kept coming across Freemasonry, and eventually what happened is I decided that I wanted to become a Mason. What was interesting is I really first learned about Freemasonry the day after my dad died. My dad and I were on a trip, and it was a tragic thing. He drowned while we were scuba diving, and it was just a mess. I mean, it was a bad deal. But anyway, the day after, they cut this ring off his finger, and they gave it to me. And I looked at it, and it had this curved sword with the 5-pointed star on top of the sword. And I looked at it. It was really worn. Anyway, when I went home, I asked my mom. I said, "What is this?" She said, "Oh, your dad was a Shriner." I said, "What's a Shriner?" She said, "Oh, he was a Freemason." I go, "Well, what's a Freemason?" And anyway, so that was the first time I really paid any attention and was aware of what a Freemason was. So anyway, then I got into the research, and I started learning about the Templars, and the research went right to the Templars, by the way, as to the people who were involved with this stone. And so I started to look into Freemasonry, and as we talked about, I was convinced by the evidence that I had learned that I thought this was a good thing and something that I wanted to be part of. So I joined, and I was raised as a Freemason in November of 2015. And I had a Masonic mentor. His name is John Freeberg. And as soon as I finished my third degree, he said, "Well, you're going to do the Scottish Rite, and you're going to do the York Rite." And, just for your audience, we have what they call the Blue Lodge, which is the first 3 degrees: the Entered Apprentice, the Fellowcraft, and the Master Mason. And once you become a Master Mason and are raised as a new brother, you're on the squad. You're good. You can stop there and just attend your regular lodge meetings, participate in the activities, and just do the fellowship, and everything's great. But if you're interested in seeking additional light being knowledge, which of course I was interested in, you can go down one of a couple of paths. One is called the Scottish Rite, which builds off of the Blue Lodge. So when you start your Scottish Rite journey, you start with the 4th degree, and that goes all the way up to the 32nd degree, and I have done all 32 degrees. Now, a lot of people say, "Well, don't you do the 33rd degree after that?" The 33rd degree is honorary only, and basically, if you even talk about it, you're not going to get it. So I'll just leave it at that. But it's a very high honor. Very few people achieve it, and it's basically for doing good work. Now, the other branch is called the York Rite. And that, again, builds off of the Blue Lodge. So the first degree is the 4th degree, and there's a total of 10 additional degrees for a total of, plus the 3 is 13 total. Now, that number is very significant, and it's not an accident. Now, a lot of people will argue, well, 13 is the number of colonies. Like, that's the reason for the number 13. Well, did anybody ever stop to think that maybe there's a reason they chose 13 colonies? And the answer is yes. But in any case, there's 3 groups of degrees within the York Rite: the Royal Arch, the Cryptic Council, and then the chivalric degrees. And at the very end, the last degree of that group, you are knighted as a Knights Templar. And I have done all of those degrees. But it was within the Cryptic Code degrees, the middle degrees, that one of the degrees that I went through, and I can't tell you all about the degree, but what I can tell you is that our degrees are based upon, are kind of built around historical events, mostly biblical history, right? And a lot of them have to do with the building of the first temple in Jerusalem, and this particular degree takes place right at the finishing of the temple in Jerusalem. And they talk about the 3 Grand Masters. There's a purple triangle, which is sort of the iconic symbol, which represents Hiram Abiff, King Solomon, and Hiram, King of Tyre. And Hiram Abiff was the master architect of building the temple. He oversaw construction. And one of the things that they decided is they were going to build a secret vault, the 9th arch, 9 levels below the Sanctum Sanctorum, or the Holy of Holies, and below in this secret vault is where a copy of all the true treasures would be kept. And I'll never forget, at the end of the degree, one of the white hats, one of the 33rds, got up and gave a lecture. And our degrees are made up, as you know, Joe, of part theatrical performance and part lecture. And at one point he said, and the other 8 arches were built by 22 men from Gebel. And I went, 8 and 22? Those are the first 2 numbers on the Kensington runestone. And I didn't hear another thing after that. But after the degree was over, I went over to my friend John, my mentor, and I said, John, is there a ritual book for this degree? He said, yes. I said, give me that. So I started reading. And holy crap. 8, 22, 2, 1, 1, 10, 10, 14. These are the numbers that are in sequence on the Kensington runestone, and they occur in the degree in sequence the same.
Mm. And that's something.
That is not a coincidence.
Nope. And that tells you that this stuff has been around for a long, long time. And that's what I was telling you, the early writers, the Masonic writers like Massey and Manly P. Hall and Pike,
yep.
Especially Manly P. Hall talked about this stuff has been here since the dawn of mankind. You know, that's what he's been saying, like this stuff has been around forever. And it's truly fascinating.
Nail on the head. That's exactly what it means. And in this particular case, the whole, legend of Enoch in the Bible and the 9 arches and the secret vault is an ancient story, right? And now here we have it on the Kensington runestone, and it ties in with our modern degree in the York Rite today. And it's just incredible. In fact, Masonic scholars that have looked at my work, they can't refute it. There it is. And it's on the runestone. So now you're going to tell me that Olaf Oman, the guy that found the runestone, was a cryptic mason? I don't think so. So and that's where the Cryptic Code comes in, the title Cryptic Code. But there's more to it than that. I mean, I'm just touching on the highlights. But again, a lot like our degrees that are, moral lessons, symbolism, code, various historical teachings. There's many things that are built into the degrees. The same is true with the Kensington runestone. And it wasn't until I became a Mason that the Cryptic Code suddenly I became aware of. Now you might say, well, why didn't anybody else catch this? Well, I'm not really sure, but I think the reason is there's no question about it. Today, walking on the earth today, there's nobody that knows more about the Kensington runestone than me. It's just a fact. I've written 4 books on it. I've studied every aspect of the stone, and I know it by heart. And so that's why those numbers jumped out at me where they wouldn't to most other people. And, that's how it happened. So, and I'm glad it did. But without that, I never would have found this Cryptic Code and the other things that I write about in my book that could only have been done by somebody who lived in medieval times. And the other thing that's really important about this, Joe, that dawned on me when I did figure out this Cryptic Code, and I'm going to just say something that I know will resonate with you, because if you've taken even your first degree, there is a period of preparation. And when you do other types of degrees, whether it's in Scottish Rite or York Rite, there is what we call a time of reflection, right, before you actually participate in a degree. And really what it is, you've heard of a chamber of reflection, right?
Not familiar with it, no. Actually, I'm not.
Okay. Well, a chamber of reflection happens in certain degrees, higher degrees. And basically what happens is you're put inside of a very small room, a candle is burning, and there's a table, there's an open Bible, sometimes there's other artifacts, but there is always a skull, and often a skull and crossbones. And the reason for that is for you to reflect upon your own mortality, right? And here's a universal axiom that nobody can argue. We all came into this world with nothing, right? We're going to go out with nothing. And it's what happens in between that makes the difference in life. You know, whose lives do you impact? What kind of a difference do you make in this world? But make no mistake, that skull is going to be you at some point, and don't ever forget it. And the whole point of this chamber of reflection is to humble you. It's about being humbled and to realize that it's not all about you. And when you really, truly sort of absorb that concept and realize that you are just a man or whatever, a woman or whatever, then you are ready to receive the new knowledge, right? You're ready to be enlightened. And I think it's a beautiful concept, and it absolutely works. And so a lot of times when you see different art where you'll see a skull, whether it's prominent in the image or maybe off to the side, you often see Mary Magdalene with a skull. Jesus was...
well, there you are.
Well, anyway, I'm giving an example for people who might be Christian. But the point is that the whole idea of the chamber of reflection is to humble the person, for them to realize their mortality. And so that becomes the preparation to go into this. And my point is that I have been fighting with scholars for decades. And they've been telling me, well, the runestone this and the runestone's wrong because of that. And I say to them, I go, look, no, you're telling me what you think. You're telling me what you believe. The question of the authenticity of these artifacts isn't about faith. It's about evidence. So show me your evidence. Or if you don't like the evidence that I presented, tell me where I made my mistake. Tell me where I'm wrong, because, look, I'm not perfect. I'm not above making a mistake. Tell me where I've made a mistake, and I'll fix it. That's not the problem. The problem is they don't like the result. So what do? They attack you. But what I've come to realize through this whole discovery of the Cryptic Code is that these people, they're not Masons. None of them are Masons. None of them have ever gone through something like a chamber of reflection. These people are looked upon as gods, right? They're the smartest people in our society. So they know everything. And this is the reason why they will never figure out the Kensington runestone until they realize that they don't know it all. And here's what it boils down to, Joe. You ready for this? I'm going to lay a good one on you.
All right.
For the past 120 years, academia has been trying to tell the Kensington runestone what it's supposed to be instead of letting the artifact tell them what it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, like, I think this stuff is far more cryptic than anybody knows, honestly, you know, but that's just me.
Now, I don't think I've got it all figured out either. I think there's more levels to it. It's an amazing document, and it fooled them all. They had no idea what they're looking at, so what did they do? They dismissed it, and it was a mistake. Its dimensions are 2 to 1, exactly. The oblong square, which is a sacred. This is the key to sacred geometry. Do you think that's a coincidence? It was split down to those sacred dimensions. That just happens to be the same ratio as our Masonic lodges. You know, the nave of Gothic churches. I mean, I could go on and on. This oblong square is critical to sacred geometry, and it just so happens to have it. Again, until you have the knowledge and know what to look for, you just don't see it. You know what I mean? I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like, you see this stuff your whole life. You do. Your eyes see it your whole life. And it's not until you focus on it, it's not until you become aware of it, that you start to see underneath everything. And then it just keeps getting bigger and deeper and deeper.
Yes,
and then you can't really relay it to anybody because their perception's off, right? They're still on the old program. So they don't see what's been laid in front of them.
The old program, I love it. No,
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly right. And that was one of the things that I just loved, because as I was learning about Freemasonry and I was learning about symbolism, I was reading about these things, and then I go, oh, God, and then I would look at, like, logos, like company logos, and architecture and design, and I'm like, oh, my God, that's what they're doing there. Oh, I get it now. And it's like you see the world in a whole different way. It is so cool. And it really, in my view, it just enriches the world and being alive and realizing that, you know what, I thought I was pretty smart before. There's a hell of a lot smarter people out there walking around that I had no idea existed. And not just today, but in the past. These people were really quite brilliant.
Well, what I can't figure out is how, like, Freemasonry is, a lot of it's based on, and just like Albert Pike said, the Tree of Life, and there's a lot of cryptic code in there. But how did they write, at least I would say, like the New Testament and stuff, how did they write it so perfectly? How did they write these texts so perfectly where you could read a story or read a text or a mythology or something, and you can interpret it 4 to 5 different ways, and it all just narrows down to the truth. And that's hard for people to grasp, because they're like, it's either this or that. And it's like, no, it's really not. It's all true. But it all comes down to this, like, basic fundamental principle in the universe or something, and it's hard. You don't see that when you grow up, is what I'm saying. Like, you just know the stories, and that's it.
Well, you're hitting on it, and and talking about, like, the Bible. The Bible is really an amazing document, and it's like you said, it's filled with multiple layers of information, and depending on your level of initiation, you see different levels. Now, most people, they take it literally and they interpret what the words are, and that's what most Roman Christians do. I'll just be straight about it. But there's a whole nother level going on there. And, I'll give you an example, probably a simple example. Some people might get upset about this, but I'm not trying to upset anybody. I'm just going to give you another perspective, right? Now, a lot of people believe in the story, and I'm not trying to challenge its veracity. I'm just going to say that Jesus died on the cross. He was then placed inside a tomb for 3 days, and then after 3 days he was resurrected. And at the time that he was resurrected, there was a woman there who was present, and it was Mary Magdalene, right? That is the basic resurrection story, right?
Right.
Well, on one level, that's fine. But there's another level to this story, possibly, right? Maybe the story isn't about the Son of God, but maybe it's about the Sun God. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, on the winter solstice, the sun stands still. You could argue in the darkness, at its lowest, southernmost point in the sky on the shortest, darkest day of the year. And on December 20th, 21st, and 22nd, the sun stands still. And then what happens? It starts to come back. It is resurrected, right?
Right.
So some people could interpret it that way. Now, how does Mary Magdalene fit into this? Well, if you are a mystic or somebody that's into the more esoteric aspect of astronomy, the sun god is considered a male deity, and the planet Venus is considered the physical manifestation of the goddess in the heavens. And we could talk about why that is, but it's a fact. The third brightest heavenly body in the sky, who rises roughly half the year as a morning star, and then the sun follows, right? But what people don't realize is that Venus moves across the sky and then sets, and then the sun follows when she rises as a morning star. When she transits over and she's an evening star, as she is right now, the sun sets and then she follows. And in mystical circles, they're called the eternal travelers, male, female, traveling together in the heavens. So when the sun is present, she is always present. So when he rises and returns, she is always there. So that allegorical symbolism of Venus as the Magdalene in this case and Jesus as the sun works just as well in the resurrection story at a different level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It sure does. And it's funny that they hid that from us, though. You know, like it's been hidden.
Pardon?
That all of that stuff has been hidden is crazy to me. It's strictly for power, I guess, from the Catholic Church. But people don't really know. Like the Catholics don't like Masons. They just haven't. They just, I mean, at least where I'm from, they don't. And it's
well, this is why because Masonry teaches people to look beyond the Bible, to look beyond the moral teachings. They are about education. I mean, for centuries, the church kept people in the dark on purpose so they could tell them what to believe, what to think, and what to do. And I'm not picking on the church. This is well documented. Mm-hmm. And the abuse that went along with it. I mean, these are just facts. And, you know, I mean, the dirty little secret that the church doesn't want people to know is you don't need a conduit to get to Creator, right? You can have a relationship with God all by yourself.
That's right.
Whatever religion you want to be. And you don't need a priest or a cleric or whatever to get to God. You can just have that relationship yourself. The problem with that is it minimizes the importance of the church. So they're not going to teach you that, and they're sure as hell not going to tell you that. And they're going to create institutions like hell to scare you into believing that what they're telling you is the truth. When you don't have to believe them, just do it yourself. And that's what they don't like about Freemasonry, because we teach people to learn and grow on their own.
Man, yeah, absolutely. You know, your own free will and your own free mind. That's right. The best way to learn stuff. We're at the top of the hour. We're here with Scott Wolter. We'll take your questions, too. If you want to call in, the call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void, live on the Fringe FM. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Alex Exum, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, but the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Roop in the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new art gal. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Eric from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California.
I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling. The ground shook. You could hear rushing water. And then, history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails. Stores with their shelves strip bare. ATMs can't operate. Deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. In statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand 3 truths. FEMA is broke. The system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25-year shelf life. Normally $137, now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247, now only $147 shipped in 1 business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit BeyondTheStrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal, there's a show called Into the Paranormal. I'm Jeremy Scott. Hear me live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern on the Fringe FM.
Abnormal News. I'm Brad Bernards. When humans return to the moon to stay, where will they live? Well, it turns out they might live in lunar bases made of astronaut pee. According to Space.com, researchers have found that urea, the major organic compound found in human urine, could be useful for making concrete for lunar structures. Future astronauts living on the moon's surface will have to endure much more intense conditions. In this new study, researchers from Norway, Spain, the Netherlands, and Italy, in cooperation with the European Space Agency, conducted a number of experiments testing the use of urea from human urine as a plasticizer, a substance that can be added to materials like concrete to make it more flexible before it hardens. The team found that samples that used urea as a plasticizer were able to support heavy weight, remain stable, and keep their shape. The results are in, and no surprise, a lot of people want to be a NASA astronaut.
This is Vice President Mike Hines calling. We are so inspired by your courage, by your character. You're going to be the pioneers that lead the way to human space exploration.
Without further ado, let's welcome the world's newest astronauts to the stage.
Space.com reports that more than 12,000 people have applied to join what NASA is calling the Artemis Generation, a new class of astronauts to help the agency return humans to the moon and reach outward to Mars. Now comes the hard part, winnowing down the massive applicant pool to just a handful of candidates with the right stuff. Connect with the news at parabnormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Parabnormal News.
Joe. Pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
And welcome back to Lighting the Void. We're here with Scott Wolter, our guest tonight, and we are talking about his new book that is out, Cryptic Code. Tomorrow night, Marty Leeds is going to be on the program, which ought to segue right off of this show tonight. And Scott, I want to thank you again for coming on the broadcast. This is really cool, and it's quite controversial to talk about the history of North America, the Templars, Masonry. But, we talk about this stuff quite a bit on this show, but is there something like really controversial that you have that you could let us know about, maybe, that's in your book?
Well, it's funny you should ask. There is. And, one of the things that I do in this book is I have a chapter called Summary of Symbolism. And what I talk about are various symbols and signs and tokens, if you will, that occur in our world that people might not be aware of. And I think they'll find it interesting to read about these things because, for example, if they look at medieval artwork, for example, and artwork right up to this day, initiated a lot of the artists that beautified the churches and the Gothic cathedrals and did these wonderful paintings, incorporated an awful lot of symbolism into their artwork, and things like the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio that most people don't even know anything about. But there is a secret that I reveal in the new book that has to do with medieval art, and specifically a painting that was done by a guy named Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay.
Probably heard of. Well, anyway, in 1483, the Church of the Immaculate Conception, the Roman Catholic Church, commissioned Da Vinci to do a painting called Virgin on the Rocks. And if you pull it up on your computer, you'll see that there's two versions of the painting. And in the first one, you will notice that there's, Mother Mary in blue standing over two children and a woman off to the right. And she is wearing orange and green, and she's got auburn hair. Now, the colors of Mary Magdalene, to the initiated who know her history, are orange and green. Green for her Celtic roots and ideological beliefs, and orange for the region of France that she disappeared into after the crucifixion, when she disappeared into France, where she lived out her life and died. Anyway, you'll notice that woman off to the right, that younger woman, is wearing orange and green.
Gotcha, I see it.
Clearly that's Mary Magdalene.
Okay.
Now, the two children that are to her left, or to the left in the painting, are supposed to be Jesus and John the Baptist as children. And there's Mother Mary in blue above them.
Uh-huh.
Well, the problem with that is that if that woman in orange and green is Mary Magdalene, then how can that be Jesus and John the Baptist as children? They were contemporaries in age, right?
Right. Well,
so that's not who they are.
I'm looking at it
so
here. Yeah, they're two different faces, too, for sure. Like, you can, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, they are
right.
different. That's amazing.
And the one on the left is older than the one on the right. Right?
Wow, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I see that.
Okay. So, if that's not Jesus and John the Baptist, then who are they?
A good question. Who do you think they are?
I know who they are.
Well, spill the beans, right, brother. Here we go.
The one on the right is Mary Magdalene's child that she had with Jesus. That son's name was Judah.
Okay.
But she's pointing to the one on the left.
Right.
Right? The older one. Who's that?
I don't know. I'm being perfectly honest with you.
That is the son that she had with John the Baptist. His name was Jose.
Huh. Seriously?
It was pronounced Jose.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was married to John the Baptist, and then he was beheaded, right?
That's right.
And so in those dynastic families, she was obligated to marry the closest relative, who was Jesus. And what a lot of people don't realize is back then, to be what we now call a rabbi, not only were you required to be married, but you were also required to have a son for succession. So not only was the Da Vinci Code correct, but there was the Cryptic Code, or the John the Baptist Code. She was married to both of them and had a son with both. And look at her hand. Do you see her hand? She's pointing to John the Baptist, right?
That's right,
that
yeah.
child. Because John the Baptist was the initiator, and Jesus was the initiated. They talk about John the Baptist baptizing, right? Well, it wasn't a baptism. It was an initiation. And so if you look at her hand very closely, just make that with your hand. Point your index finger, stick your thumb out, and then make a fist with your last three fingers. And then rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. What do you see?
Looks like a backwards L or an L if I did that right. You know?
Listen, square.
Yep. That's right.
Do you see it?
Yep. I see what you're saying. So where did the lineage go then? Where did if Hosea and all these people did, the whole story of the Priory of Sion?
They were married, they had kids, and their kids had kids, and their kids had kids, and those descendants are walking on the planet today.
That's what I thought.
I'm one of them. You probably are too. There are a lot of people that are descended from that line, and there's multiple lines. I mean, think about it like this, okay? Every single person on the planet today has ancestors that were alive 2,000 years ago, right? That's a fact. You wouldn't be here if there weren't people 2,000 years ago that had children that propagated up to this day, right?
Right. That's right.
So why is it such a stretch to believe that these people that we know existed back then, and we know they had children, didn't have descendants that are alive today? It's not a big deal. As much as I'd like to think I'm special, I'm not special. There's probably thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions, that descended from these families. We don't know.
Yeah, that movie, Angels and Demons, and I forget what the name of the other movie was, but they talk about the Priory of Sion, and I looked that up, and there's some real kind of stuff to that, actually. Yeah, there is. There is a priory. That's right.
There is.
Yeah, and then there's orders all over the world that people don't know about, too.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on here, and I'm being a little simplifying this whole bloodline thing. There are people that, were in leadership positions that certainly have a hell of a lot higher status within the families than I do, or any of the others. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, believe me, there's nothing special. But the point is that this has all been corrupted, and all of this has been buried, and obfuscated. It's the real truth is a lot different. And by the way, if you look at that second painting that Da Vinci did, if you're online, you'll see it. All of a sudden, well, what happened was he presented that painting to the church, and they said, "Screw you, do it again." So he painted another version, and if you pull it up on it's the next image online. and you'll see that the Magdalene the colors are gone. They put wings on her to make her an archangel to get her out of the picture, right? We can't have her there. And then they put halos on the children, and, everything is back to where they want it to be. So that version, the second version, that painting is hanging in the Church of the Immaculate Conception to this day, and the first one is hanging in the Louvre in Paris, France.
That is so fascinating. That is so fascinating. So, like, a lot of this stuff is that they're showing us in these movies are real. I kind of knew that, because I remember when I first watched it, I started looking up all of the stuff, thinking that it was real,
Yeah. Well, some of these things have been fictionalized and dramatized, and that's not quite the real story, but you know what? The basic premise of a lot of these stories are true. I think it's cool, and I guess for me, some people are going to consider this blasphemy, what I just told you, and it's like, why is it blasphemy? This is what people do. They get married and they have kids. I hate to break it to you, but I just, until I see evidence of a virgin birth or people rising from the dead, I'm not buying it. I'm just not.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't either. I want to know the truth. I just don't. You know what I really want to do? I want to get down there underneath that library. The Vatican library. That's what I really want to do.
Oh yeah.
They're hiding that stuff.
Well, in the book, I have a letter from a archbishop who was a Mason that was at the Roman Catholic Church. I don't reveal his name, but it was a letter that was given to me by a friend of this person who was a military general, and he anonymously forwarded that letter to me. You can read it in there. It says, yes, we have a marriage document of Yeshua ben Yosef. Yeshua is Jesus. There was no J back then. His name wasn't Jesus. It was Yeshua. And Mary Magdalene. They have a copy of the marriage document. And the guy says in the letter, it'll never see the light of day, I can guarantee you that. And that's just one of the documents they have. But the Templars have the document too. And you'll read about that in the new book and how they got it and where it was hidden for over 1,000 years.
So what do you think, honestly, realistic, what do you think the reason why they wanted to stifle all of this information for? Other than everybody says, well, the church wanted to control. That's what they wanted. They wanted power, control, things like that. Is that really the only reason? I wonder sometimes.
Well, at the end of the day, what do corrupt human beings covet? Money, power, and control. all that stuff is nice, but the control part, I thought it was about free will. In my mind, this is one of the most horrible things that's ever happened to humanity. This brainwashing that goes on, and they start when they're come out of the womb, and teach them to be fearful of certain things, to be beholden to this institution that's made up of human beings that are inherently corrupt. And let's face it. Look at the abuse that the church has perpetrated. It's terrible. This isn't some blasphemy I'm talking about. It's been going on for centuries. We all know it, and it's such a conflicting thing for many people, because there are good things that the church does. There are good teachings. I'm not saying that it's terrible in everything that it does, but its basic structure, the way that it goes about its business, is morally wrong. I think I think it's morphed over the centuries because it's had to, but it's in rapid decline right now. There's no doubt about that. In Minnesota here, a couple of years ago, the Roman Catholic Church filed for bankruptcy because people are not getting the answers to the questions that everybody asks, every generation. It doesn't matter what generation you're talking about. The big questions in life, you know. Why am I here? What happens when I die? You know, what is the meaning of life? All those things. And kids nowadays, they're not going to church. They're finding it in other places. And personally, I think Freemasonry is one good option for people. It's not for everybody. That's for damn sure. But I think more people should try to find those answers in other places besides, you know. But for some people, church works fine. It's just the dogma part that I have an issue with. As I said before, you can have a relationship with deity all by yourself and, you know, figure it out on your own or with like-minded people. But when one person is given the power over other people, that's where the problems start. And I don't know. I mean, there's no perfect answer, but that system just doesn't work for me.
No, and I mean, I think like what you're doing is good. You're showing everybody through your work and kind of waking people up. And I think eventually we're all going to start figuring this out. I mean, with what's going on right now, all the stuff that's happened, if we look at our past, and we haven't learned from our experience yet. We haven't learned. We just don't.
Isn't that true?
You know?
Those who do not learn from the past are destined to repeat it. And, you know, since we've been on such a, serious topics here, I'll give you another one that is sort of the elephant in the room that nobody likes to talk about, and that's overpopulation. I mean, some people believe that, this is the earth kind of shedding some of the fleas that is infected her. And I happen to like that analogy because we have not controlled our population. We have not kept things in balance, and the earth is off kilter. And what, to me, is like the biggest, most tragic thing of all is we know that what we're doing, yet we are not making the steps that we need to correct it. And we have the ability to do that, but we have chosen not to as a species. And I can tell you this, as a geologist, in the fossil record, it is well documented that many species throughout time have overpopulated. And the same thing happens over and over again, and the same thing's going to happen to us. There's a huge spike in the population, and it gets to the point of critical mass, and then there's a massive die-off. It happens every single time. And there's only one of two results that happen. Either the species goes extinct and disappears forever, or they figure it out, and there's a huge correction, and then they achieve this balance and they continue on. Small mammals are one example of those species that did that. And that is the path that we are on. And the warning bells are screaming right now, but we're not listening. And so this is one of the ways I think that nature is going to correct it if we don't do it ourselves. And I know that's not a rosy picture, but look around. If anybody's paying any kind of attention at all, you can see it. It's happening.
Yeah, it's not.
The question is, what are we going to do about it?
We don't. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what can we do about it other than, people say, well, we can try to take our country back. We can try to do this or that. And I say this like every show, I really believe that once we start to understand this and we really get into it, we need to understand how to explore our internal selves and realize what the message was all about. And, that's how we take our power back. I don't think we're going to do it in the physical world, so to speak. Like, we got to change our internal world. You're talking about in a spiritual sense.
Well, the one thing I will say, though, I think in many ways people are inherently good. And when things happen, I'm continually amazed at the good that and the compassion and the love that so many people have, and going out of their way to help other people. And that's the way everybody should be. The problem is we hear so much about the people that are not doing good, the people that do awful things, and they're really the minority, but they get more attention for some reason. And we forget about the people that just do the little things every day that make life grand, right? And if everybody did that, even just a little bit, what a great place this would be. And be responsible, right? I mean, I remember, I told my wife Janet, when we got married, I said, I want to have 2 kids. I want to replace us, and that's it, And, not that, other people can't have more kids and get the job done, but for me, that worked for us. It gave us enough time as parents to focus on our kids. And I mean, if you have 7 or 8 kids, how can you even give them enough attention? I don't know how you can do it.
Right, yeah.
How can you even afford it? It's like in today's world, I just don't know how it's possible.
We're not very practical about it, and then we're trying to raise ourselves while we're still figuring out who we are while we're raising 4 or 5 kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's
a battle, but I don't know. I like I said, I tend to look at the good in people, and there's just so many wonderful things. We had our governor just yesterday had a long, beautiful speech that he gave, and he pointed out a couple of examples. But we had a woman who was a nurse who was racing to the hospital, and I can't remember what her excuse was, but it was a good one, right? And a cop pulled her over for speeding, and he said, "Why were you speeding?" And she told him. And I'm on my way to the hospital, and they've got a bunch of emergency cases. I think that's what it was, people with the virus, right? And so this law enforcement officer went back to his car, and instead of giving her a ticket, he gave her the masks, the face masks that were given to him to wear on duty, and he gave them to her and said, "Here, you take these and get going and do your job. Just slow down."
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story too. I think a lot of us are being tested right now as well, how we're going to treat each other, and it could be a test, from Spirit. It has to how we need to start treating each other and taking care of each other in our communities, because the universe has a funny way of doing things when we don't. And
oh yeah, karma catches up with you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. It definitely does. And we're at the bottom of the hour. We only got just one more time here with Scott Wolter, who's with us tonight. 1-800-588-0335. That's the call-in number for questions. The phone lines are open. I've got the ringer and the flasher on, so I won't miss it. We'll be right back.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of the Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop. Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Alex Exum.
This is Alex Exum of the Exum Experience in Live Talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
This is Reverend John M. Polk, and you are listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting right here on thefringe.fm.
All right, 1-800-588-0335 is the call-in number. Scott Wolter's our guest tonight on the program. Tomorrow night, Marty Leeds will be here, and then we'll head on through the week with more fabulous guests right here on Lighting the Void. Stay tuned after the show for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable, and we'll go ahead and start taking questions for you here, Scott. We have, looks like 513 area code. Who are you speaking with, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is John. I'm calling from Ohio.
John from Ohio. You got a question for our guest tonight?
Yeah. This is probably one of my favorite shows of yours because I, too, am a Mason. And I was wondering if he could, I was wondering if he could explain to the listeners how a lot of people get offended because we refer to furniture. I had my ex-wife, her father was very much against Mason. And one of the reasons was we referred to the Bible as furniture. I was wondering if he could explain that back in medieval times, you weren't allowed to have one. You weren't even allowed to be able to read. So you would not have a Bible. So if you had a Bible, that was not a good thing. So a lot of times it was referred to as furniture, as like a code. Right. Have you ever heard that?
Well, I think I have, but I really didn't understand the reference, the meaning behind it. But, getting back to what you were saying, we alluded to the same thing, that the Roman Catholic Church was against Freemasonry because basically it taught us to think for ourselves. And
to learn and to...
to understand symbolism and code, and they had one version of certain symbols, and we have another. And they didn't want Freemasonry to interrupt what they were trying to perpetrate on the people, and so it was demonized, and it still looked down upon to this very day. But as a brother, as well as I do that. What we look, and one of the other things I'll just touch on this is, why can't women be involved in Freemasonry? Well, I know that you will agree with me that there's nothing that we do in Lodge that women can't handle. They can handle all of it, but it is a fraternal thing, and when you look at it historically, the tradition was male, and that's just the way it is. And I respect the tradition, and we do have other orders that welcome women, like Eastern Star, Job's Daughters, Daughters of the Nile, and we have a lot of events, and the ladies are welcome, and we love having the ladies there. But that's about the only thing that I had ever kind of wondered about. But I've never had a problem with it, a big problem with it.
Yeah, like when I tutor someone, as they come in and enter the apprentice, they'll send them my way because where I work, there's 1,800 people where I work. And there are a lot of us in there, but we all know who each other are, so they'll send someone to me because my ability to interpret the book, the code,
right?
That I'm able to teach people really quick. Yeah. And I always tell them, I go, this isn't about gaining power. This isn't about making yourself popular. It's about making yourself a better man. Okay? So you got to make sure you're doing this for the right reason. Are you doing it to impress your dad? Then you're doing it for the wrong reason. You're doing it to make yourself a better man, and that will impress your dad. But one trick I taught them was when they recite the answers to me, I'm like, okay, stop. You're speaking in modern day language. You have to stop that. Imagine you're a pirate, or imagine you're a knight. Think how they would speak. They wouldn't use conjunctions or anything like that. And it sounds goofy, but and then
I like the
oh my God,
the
it's
old
clicking now.
language. Yeah, like one of the phrases you'll like this one that I use is I'll say, well, more especially, and to most people they go, what is that? That's not right. Well, yeah, it is. That's a Masonic way of saying something that's unique and special, but. Yeah, there's a whole different vernacular, the language of Masonry, and I think it's beautiful. It's the old language. It's the old way of speaking, and at first, when guys come in, they struggle with it, but after a while, it becomes second nature, and it's really cool. So if you're coaching them that way, you should be doing that. I think that's important.
Well,
and the first thing I tell them is put that pencil away. You're not even supposed to do this. We'll get to that later, but put that pencil away and put that piece of paper away. This has to come out of here, and I point at their head. You'll learn about that later. So it's one of your best shows, Joe. I really appreciate it, and you got a great guest. Thank you.
Thank you for your call,
thank
brother.
you for coming on, brother. I appreciate it.
And then looks like we have, 248 area code. You're on the air with Scott Wolter. Who are we speaking with? Where are you calling from?
This is Brent.
Hey, Brent. What's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, I was just curious, like, the guest.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, what do you feel like the chances of martial law are?
Like right now?
Right now?
Yeah, I think that's what he means.
Well,
I mean, like a national quarantine, martial law, possibly putting people in
martial law, I think, is probably not going to be necessary. I mean, that's a little bit extreme, in my view, and I don't think that's probably going to happen. But and the reason I think that is because actually during commercial, Joe, you and I were talking about how, the quarantining and the distancing that people have been doing seems to be working fairly well as far as flattening the curve, as they say, and not overwhelming the healthcare system. I think it's probably what it's doing is it's getting right to critical mass. But I think we are doing enough to hold off on it. And when you look at the other countries that have already been through this, China, Spain, Italy, their numbers are starting to trend in the right direction. So hopefully we're going to follow a similar curve. And I think we're going to top out here, end of this week, into next week is what it kind of looks like. So will we need martial law? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to have to do that. But the other thing that I've heard people talk about, I don't know if I buy it, is that, this is a test to see how the public responds to something like this down the road. And if that's the case, I would say in general, for the most part, people have responded pretty well.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Let's be honest, right? As long as there's one infected individual, there is always going to be infected people. As long as there is that one infected person,
Well, until they get a vaccine.
There's always going to be more infected people.
That's right. But once they get a vaccine and they're able to get everybody to take the vaccine, that's how they'll put this thing down once and for all. Because if you have the vaccine and you get infected with it, you're not going to get sick. So eventually it will run its course. But you're right. As long as there are people that are still carrying the virus, and the tough part is it's highly contagious, and you don't know what you're not even going to show symptoms for days, and some people never show symptoms, and so they're carrying the virus, they're infecting people, and they don't even have a clue. That's the tough part.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And thank you for your call, Brent. I really appreciate you calling in. I honestly think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Honestly, there's people that believe this whole thing is, just kind of BS, and then there's this alternate agenda going on. But look, Scott, I can't help but see the technology, the stuff that's happening now. I mean, they got this satellite grid that's going to be over the earth, and by August, and it's just kind of freaky, man. I don't know what kind of age we're moving into. And as far as you being a Freemason, I really believe this. I think that I would say our forefather Freemasons might not really, if they took a look at the world that we are making right now, that the way things are, the way things are headed, would they really be happy? Is this what they had envisioned for the United States of America? I don't know. I don't know.
I can tell you right now, and I don't want to get too deep into politics, but they would not be happy with the current situation. That I can assure you. Not in the least. I mean, we fought a revolution, right? Against what? A monarchy. Against a tyrant in the office. And we are as close to a tyrant in the office as we've been, I think, ever. And it's, and I guess, we did it to ourselves. Is this what we want? I mean, I just have a problem with somebody who is a compulsive liar. And it's not a debate. It's a fact that this guy just can't tell the truth. And how are we supposed to function? And when we have a crisis like this,
well,
you can say whatever you want, but his refusal to listen to the advice he was given, his refusal to acknowledge the seriousness of the situation, to dismiss it, it made it worse. And the fact is, it's going to cost more lives than it probably should have. And I just tell me the truth.
I agree. I mean, but at the same time, I'm politically, I guess I'd be more libertarian than I am anything. It's just I know that this guy lies. I mean, you could read Robert Woodward's book and you really find out the truth about this guy, but it's like he lies in the face of obvious facts and data. And it's, I mean, come on, you just he can't even Clinton lie, It's like this is the data.
I mean,
like the data shows one thing.
Dealing with here, there's no mystery. But what is a mystery to me is how people just blindly follow him, and he just says anything and they believe it. And it's like, don't you trust your own eyes? I mean, really? I mean,
yes.
I guess the barometer for me is if I'm raising a child, and I've done this, I've raised 2 kids, do I want them to emulate this guy?
That's right.
There
That's
isn't
exactly
anything
right.
about him I want them to emulate. Nothing. And that's the leader of the free world. As a Freemason, I'm offended, to be honest with you. And I know our founding fathers would be too.
But at the same time, we have to understand that there's a cause and effect to this. Like this is not anybody's fault but our own. We let these people do this to us. We let these people divide us,
100%.
polarize us.
You're absolutely right.
And
and what does that say?
It says,
what does that say?
We don't own our country anymore.
That tells us that we haven't done a good enough job in educating our people, in teaching our people, and I just don't know how we got here. Our morals and values are just not where they need to be.
Yeah, when this country started, they had like Democratic Republicans. But now, I mean, if these guys go up there, they're wearing suits and ties, and they either wear a blue tie or red tie. But the truth is they need to go up there like NASCAR race drivers with jumpsuits with all their sponsors on their backs. And then you'd know who to vote for real.
Well, yeah, and then you would have some form of transparency, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Because you would know who their masters are.
Yeah, right.
And you know what? I guess that's fine. And let's face it, it's on both sides. This isn't a Republican or a Democratic issue. This is they all do it. They all take money. You know what the fix is for this? Term limits.
Yeah, I believe you. I agree with you on that too. But here's the thing: in Freemasonry, people say, "Oh, Freemasons are evil" and all that stuff. But now you walk into a Freemasonic hall the first time you see a checkerboard floor, and you're like, "Why is the floor checkerboard? Why is it like that?" Well, you start learning the duality of nature, and then you realize how polar-minded we can get too. Not just good and evil, but the duality of everything. And the truth lies in the middle somewhere, and that's where you got to be, where you make up your own mind, and you don't let either side sway you. And see, as long as you let others just constantly tell you the truth or what their truth is, you're never going to find yours. The only way you're going to find yours is to take leaps of faith and go where your spirit tells you to go. You know, use your head.
Get educated and make informed decisions.
And I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. We're going to find out where everything's going to go, right? And then you're just going to keep doing what you do, huh?
These are interesting times we're living in, that's for sure. I mean, I feel like in many ways this sort of uncertainty we're going through right now was in the days after 9/11, right?
Yeah, it is. It's totally uncertain times right now. And honestly, there would be no better person. I mean, if you lived in a community that was like I do, where there's a Freemasonic lodge right down the road and they do what they're supposed to do, they're going to take care of you. They're going to do what they can to take care of their communities. You know, that's the way it is.
Absolutely. That's right. Well, let's put it this way. Freemasons are not perfect. We're definitely not perfect.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, if we had more Freemasons in government right now, we would have a higher probability of people making decisions in the greater good instead of the personal good. That's a problem right now that we have. Again, Freemasons aren't perfect, but I know I can tell you this, if we had more Masons, there would be less of this what's in it for me stuff. And most of these people that are representing us in Washington are already millionaires. It's like they don't have enough money. They want to figure out ways to make to make more. How much is enough? You remember that chamber of reflection I talked about?
Yeah, I do. And I knew what you were talking about afterwards.
Some of them in a chamber of reflection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, that's when you hear the story about Golgotha, you know, and all that stuff. That's what that's about. You know, it's self-reflection of your morality and knowing that you don't come from here. You have a short time here. That's what it's all about. And what are you going to do while you're here? And to me, it's all about love and community. Family, friends, love, community, growth, evolution, that kind of thing. And those are all beautiful ideas, but we don't live in that kind of world. We live in a world where it's all about instant gratification and the almighty dollar. And if you don't think it is, then you better wake up, because that's what it's all about.
100%. Well, I don't know. It's and the funny thing is as I get older, I realize I got enough stuff. In fact, now I'm at a point where I'm trying to get rid of stuff.
Right.
And you know, it's not about that. It's about your spouse. It's about your kids. It's about your friends. It's about your relationships and all the stuff that you have.
Yeah.
And take it with you. You're going to have to do, and you know what? If you don't do something about it, you're going to leave it with your kids, and they're just going to, and I don't want to do that with my kids. I want to get rid of this stuff while I'm still able.
What am I going to do with all this stuff? Yeah, it just becomes a burden, you know? sometimes. And but at the same time, I mean, I understand having to make a living for yourself. But speaking of which, you got this book out now, and I think it's fascinating because if you already told us something really cool, something I did not know about at all, and that's in the book, so I can imagine what the rest of it's like. But where do you go from here? What are your plans next, or your next projects you're working on?
Well, I have a lot of things that are in the works right now. I'm working on another book. I'm working on a really amazing project I can't say anything about, but if it all pans out the way I hope it does, you'll hear about it. But the new book, this book, the other thing we didn't even talk about it was there is a document that's actually a compilation of documents that I present in this book called the Cremona Document, and it is a Templar document that was unknown to the world until now, and it's a fascinating story. But the book I'm working on now is another set of documents completely independent from the Cremona Document, but yet there is some dovetailing. They take place at different times in history. Got them from different people at different times. I mean, there's no connection at all to them, but yet there's all kinds of dovetailing with the information. And it really boils down to the telling of the story of the founding of this nation by the Knights Templar, the fugitive order of Knights Templar, and how they aligned with the indigenous people here, using the ideological similarities that they had, which was a veneration of the feminine aspect of the Godhead, i.e. the goddess, and we see it all through these documents. And the story that I'm writing about now is the real story of the founding of our country. It's the best story I've ever read. I guarantee you, when you start reading these journals, you will not put them down. It is amazing. There will be many names. There are over 300 names in these journals. Some of these names you will recognize. And that book is coming out next. I couldn't release them together. It was just too much information in one book, but one follows the other, and it's just an incredible story. It's our story. It's a story of the founding of our nation. It's incredible. And it's even better than the wonderful story that we already know. It's the story behind the story.
I think what some people would be asking, Scott, and this is just because I'm thinking of this, the stuff that you're revealing, you being a Freemason, a part of the Templar Order and everything, are you not like breaking any secrets? Are you not getting questioned about what you're doing? I think a lot of people would think that.
I don't want to get too much into this because it gets into the esoteric world pretty deep, but the natives have said to me it's time to share what we know. They have given me information, and the Templars and the natives were blood brothers, and so the Templar Order is ready to reveal their secrets, in part because of prophecies that say now is the time, that is supposed to be a time of great turbulence, and boy, they hit the nail on the head. So my hope is that these secrets to be revealed will help to spark positive change and turn this ship around that we've been talking about.
Well, I hope so too. I really do, because I would like to clear the name of a lot of Freemasons to begin with when it comes to this, because I've actually done my research on this stuff, and I've always found that the people that talk bad about Freemasons, things like that, they have either don't know a thing about it, or they claim to have been Freemasons at one time, and they just got everything backwards about what they're saying. And I think they had alternate agendas when they went in there. So it's hard to judge people now. So you can't judge people anymore based on their actions or based on their fruits, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Now people just want to read articles or listen to propaganda. But what we should be doing is, like, before we judge a person or a society or anything, is actually pass the time with these people yourself. Look at the fruits of what they've done, you know?
Well, that's what I do, and I like to think I'm a pretty good judge of character and of things that I look into. And, you know, when Freemasonry is done right and the degrees are done right, the basic tenets and principles, there's nobody that can argue that they're not good. I mean, if you do, you're just not being real. You're not being honest.
You got that right.
Brotherly love and friendship and knowledge and teaching and growing as an individual. I mean, look at the most iconic symbols of Freemasonry are the rough ashlar and the perfect ashlar, and they serve as a beautiful analogy for what Freemasonry is. The rough ashlar is the stone that comes out of the quarry. It's just basically squared up, but it's got rough edges all around, and that's supposed to symbolize, you know, the initiate, the entered apprentice who comes in, who basically is a good person, but needs to be molded and shaped and coached up a little bit. And then the perfect ashlar is the cut, squared, and polished stone that is the better man through the moral teachings that represents that better person. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. But at least it's good enough so that they can now take that finished stone and put it into the building, which is symbolic of society, right? The better people that we can help to make through Freemasonry just helps make society better. And I just love that whole analogy of the rough and perfect ashlar, because that's exactly what Freemasonry tries to do, to build a better society by building better men.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for coming on the show, and we look forward to your work and your book. We'll leave all the links down there, too, as well, and your website, scottwolteranswers.blogspot.com. I'll put all of those links down in the show notes, too, for the podcast player. And,
I
thanks
appreciate
for
that,
on.
Joe. And, you know, if there's anybody out there that wants signed books, you can get them on Amazon. But if you want signed books, just go to my website, www.hookedx.com, and I'll be happy to personalize the book for you and shoot it off.
Fantastic. Thank you for coming on the show again. It's been cool.
All right, Joe. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you. Scott Wolter, everybody. That was pretty cool. You have to go check out the book. Go check out his blog and his work. We'll be right back. The recap into the Reverend Dan Lopez. Stick around.
In your face, all over the place.
We're online 24/7.
You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Listen, I want to tell you about G.I. Joy from GetTheTea.com. It's the best alchemical concoction of goodies for your stomach and digestive system I can recommend, and that's all based on my experience. Packed with colostrum, acidophilus, aloe, peppermint, and turmeric. If you do your own research, then you know this is the bee's knees for the stomach and digestion. Now, due to Big Brother's ears and the eye in the sky, you know I can't go into the details about what it helped me with. All I can say is I got relief. It's non-GMO, no fillers, no preservatives, manufactured right here in the US of A, and delivered to you by the only people who stay on top of the game and are out in front. Go grab a bottle of G.I. Joy at GetTheTea.com and see what all the fuss is about. Again, that's GetTheTea.com.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. See you then.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 945-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. That's 945-882-7221. Or go to the website, angioprim.com.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Root. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, a.k.a. Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Scientists around the world have found that the Earth's crust is moving less. Approximately 4 billion people, which is about half of the world's population, has been told to remain inside their homes to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Researchers have said that the mandatory shutdown has correlated with the Earth's crust moving less than usual. The surface seismometer at the Royal Observatory of Belgium has become more sensitive to quiet seismic activity that it would have previously missed, which could lead to better measurement of small quakes and other seismic activity. The vibrations were observed by a seismologist at the Royal Observatory of Belgium in Brussels. He published an article in the journal Nature, and according to the seismologist, such a dramatic increase in noise can only typically be experienced briefly around Christmas. His findings were echoed by seismologists around the world. Researchers in New Zealand, Scotland, New Jersey, England, and France have all tweeted similar reports of decreased noise since their respective isolation periods began. A graduate student from the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena tweeted that Los Angeles is experiencing a similar reduction in noise. With more people staying in, what does that mean for UFO sightings? MUFON, or the Mutual UFO Network, recently released its UFO sighting statistics for March. There was a total of 883 UFO sightings reported worldwide. The total is up 255 from sightings reported in January. Tom DeLonge, the co-founder of the To the Stars Academy, reported that he'd witnessed something unusual on March 31st. DeLonge said someone texted him about a UAP off the coast near where he lives. He said, "We were the only ones on the beach that night. As this light disappeared, reappeared, and broke into 3 pieces and stacked vertically, with one little red dot flying around the top, and then disappeared for the rest of the evening." DeLonge shared the video to his Instagram account, and he wrote, "This video doesn't show much, but we were up quite late watching the light dance, about half a mile to a mile off the beach." In Laguna Beach, California, on March 31st, a couple walking their dog at night looked over at the ocean and noticed 4 glowing orbs. The lights hovered in a straight line over the water. The witnesses state that the number of lights slowly increased from 4 to 7. They eventually started to fade out one by one until there were none left. The couple observed the sighting for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie, and remember to stay healthy.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada.
So the question remains, will we make it out of this thing just yet? How long is it going to last? How long are we going to be in quarantine? Does anybody know? At least until the end of April, I hear. But what about after that? What about June? What about July? How long are you going to keep us cooped up until you realize that that stuff ain't working? I mean, they got us cooped up, right? And the disease or whatever you want to call it is spreading regardless. I don't think they're going to be able to put Americans in their households just permanently. Like, don't go anywhere. I think in a lot of places they're allowing you to go to the grocery store, and that's it. But, I mean, perhaps, I mean, we probably could starve the virus out, maybe, I don't know, if we just nobody left their houses. But that's really not what's going on here. Reverend Dan Lopez is with us in the third hour. What's up, Dan? How you feeling, brother?
Well, I'm feeling fine. Thank you for having me on. Hello, everybody.
There's this doctor in New York City that has talked about something that I think it's pretty familiar that I think everybody should listen to, you know? Go ahead, Dan.
No, he opened up. I think it was a special ICU center in New York City, and he was treating the darn thing, and he was finding out that everything that they were telling him how to treat it was not the protocol that they were supposed to be using for the symptoms that he was experiencing. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, if anybody.
I'm going to play the clip
here. I can't remember her name. So play the clip because it'll explain more.
Yeah, so his name is Dr. Cameron Kyle Seidel, MD, and he was on Kelly Brogan. He's already been on a couple of places already, and I just want to hear what he has to say.
This is Dr. Cameron Kyle Seidel, ER and critical care doctor from New York City. 9 days ago, I opened an intensive care unit to care for the sickest COVID-positive patients in this city. In these 9 days, I have seen things I have never seen before. In treating these patients, I have witnessed medical phenomenon that just don't make sense in the context of treating a disease that is supposed to be a viral pneumonia. 9 days ago, I presumed I was opening an intensive care unit to treat patients with a virus causing a pneumonia that was ravaging lungs across the world, starting out as something mild, a cough, a sore throat, and progressively increasing in severity until ultimately ending in something called acute respiratory distress syndrome, or ARDS. This is the paradigm that every hospital in the country is working under. This is the disease, ARDS, that every hospital is preparing to treat. And this is the disease, ARDS, for which in the next 2 to 6 weeks, 100,000 Americans might be put on a ventilator. And yet, everything I've seen in the last 9 days, all the things that just don't make sense, the patients I'm seeing in front of me, the lungs I'm trying to improve, have led me to believe that COVID-19 is not this disease, and that we are operating under a medical paradigm that is untrue. In short, I believe we are treating the wrong disease, and I fear that this misguided treatment will lead to a tremendous amount of harm to a great number of people in a very short time. As New York City appears to be about 10 days ahead of the country, I feel compelled to get this information out. COVID-19 lung disease, as far as I can see, is not a pneumonia and should not be treated as one. Rather, it appears as some kind of viral-induced disease, most resembling high-altitude sickness. It is as if tens of thousands of my fellow New Yorkers are on a plane at 30,000 feet and the cabin pressure is slowly being let out. These patients are slowly being starved of oxygen. I have seen patients dependent on oxygen take off their oxygen and quickly progress through a state of anxiety and emotional distress and eventually get blue in the face. And while they look like patients absolutely on the brink of death, they do not look like patients dying of pneumonia. I have never been a mountain climber, and I do not know the conditions at base camp below the highest peaks in the world. But I suspect that the patients I'm seeing in front of me look most like as if a person was dropped off on the top of Mount Everest without time to acclimate. I don't know the final answer of this disease, but I'm quite sure that a ventilator is not it. That is not to say that we don't need ventilators. We absolutely need them. They are the only way at this time that we're able to give a little more oxygen to patients who need it. But when we treat people with ARDS, we typically use ventilators to treat what's called respiratory failure. That is, we use the ventilator to do the work that the patient's muscles can no longer do because they're too tired to do it. These patients' muscles work fine. I fear that if we're using a false paradigm to treat a new disease, that the method that we program the ventilator, one based on a notion of respiratory failure as opposed to oxygen failure, that this method, and there are a great many number of methods we can use with the ventilator, but this method being widely adopted at this very moment in every hospital in the country, which aims to increase pressure on the lungs in order to open them up, is actually doing more harm than good, and that the pressure we are providing to lungs, we may be providing to lungs that cannot stand it, that cannot take it, and that the ARDS that we are seeing, that the whole world is seeing, may be nothing more than lung injury caused by the ventilator. Now, I don't know the final answer to this disease. I do sense that we will have to use ventilators. We will have to use a great many number of ventilators, and we need a great many number of ventilators, but I sense that we can use them in a much safer way. In a much safer method. That safer method challenges long-held dogmatic beliefs within the medical community and among lung specialists, which will not be easy to overcome. But I really believe that they must be overcome. There are hundreds of thousands of lungs in this country at risk, and the time to overcome them is now. I'm confident that if those of us that work bedside with these patients, those of us who are witnessing the things that we have never seen before, despite the many years we have worked and the thousands of patients and diseases we have seen, if we can effectively communicate this to all those that are so important but who are not bedside, the researchers, the administrators, those who procure our resources and make our protocols, the politicians, our own governments, if we are able to convince them that this is a disease that is different than anything we have ever seen, I am confident that an answer can be found, that effective treatment can be discovered, and that a plan to disseminate that treatment can be rapidly deployed, and that tens of thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of lives and lungs will be protected. The time for this is now. We are staring into a future in which a great many of our fellow Americans are going to suffer. We are all involved in this future. So I urge you, for those of us, if you are out there, for those who work bedside, I urge you to speak up. We can change this. I thank you all for listening. Please spread the message and stay safe.
In light of this important message of this doctor, who I want to add has nothing to gain at all by giving you this, unlike the plethora of people on the news like Bill Gates who have a lot to gain by you taking his advice, this man has nothing to gain and everything to lose. But I'd like to make a few comments, and please take my comments with a grain of salt. Don't believe anything I say, do your own research. But I'd like to point out here that in my video on 60 gigahertz FIVEG, I roughly explained how the uptake of oxygen to hemoglobin can be potentially interfered with electromagnetically. Since releasing that video, I have had further confirmation by a molecular scientist specializing in oxygen. I'll show that later. But I showed how it's well known that 60 gigahertz FIVEG is absorbed by oxygen. I showed you footage of how the heads of telecom admit under oath there have been no industry-sponsored safety testing of these frequencies that they are saying they will release in an expedited manner. No safety testing on humans, no safety testing on the environment. In the video, I also begged that we need further testing to be done before we continue to unleash these frequencies on the world. That video was subsequently removed by YouTube. Now this doctor admits this, whatever this is that he's seeing coming into his ICU is unlike anything he has ever seen before. He says he has witnessed medical phenomena that don't make sense in the context of treating a disease that's supposed to be a viral pneumonia. The thing that they're telling you all over the media that this is without a doubt. He describes that the paradigm that they are told that they would be treating is ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. End quote. Yet everything I've seen in the last 9 days, all of the things that just don't make sense, the patients I'm seeing in front of me, the lungs I'm trying to improve have led me to believe that this COV-19 is not this disease. He's saying it's not behaving as a viral pneumonia. He says, and that we are operating under a medical paradigm that is untrue. And he adds that he fears that this misguided treatment will lead to a tremendous amount of harm to a great number of people in a very short period of time. Are you listening? He's calling this oxygen failure. And he's admitting that whatever this is can be exacerbated by the use of ventilators itself. You heard him say it, not me, that as far as he can see it, it is not acting as a pneumonia and it should not be treated as one. Again, a head doctor in ICU in New York City is saying this, not me. I have no medical advice on this topipic.
Well, anyways, that was Kelly Brogan. So that was, and then on the Kelly Brogan, I guess, show or her YouTube channel, and then Cameron Kyle Seidel, MD, talking about that. And it makes sense to me because, Amanda Amandala was just on the show during the birthday bash, right? Like, she's in the medical field. I don't think I could speak up for her, like, to what tell anybody what she actually does, because that's up to her. And she even said that. And I think what's happening here is that a lot of the people in the medical field are afraid to speak up because they're afraid of their peers and colleagues, or, it's kind of like when Robert Schock was talking about how he was afraid to speak out of how, the Sphinx had water erosion on it, not air erosion. And when you get around your peers and the people in panic and fear, there's certain type of people that just go along with the program. And thank God there's doctors out there that could care less how many millions of people are afraid of what someone's going to think about them. And people like Amandala that'll stand up and say, this doesn't medically make sense. Right? It wasn't really, we on this show didn't hear it first from this guy. We heard it from one of our listeners. A part of the Void Walker team that just says, this isn't acting like a virus. It doesn't act like a virus. It doesn't make sense. Nobody knows any cure for it. They can't find a cure for it. They don't have a clue. The tests are not valid. You could probably have the regular flu or whatever, and you're going to get test positive for those tests. So they're just keeping us everywhere until they figure out what this is. Now, I can't imagine. I would hate to think that this woman and these people are right about these 5G towers and what they're doing. But how else do you explain what he's talking about until they figure it out? And I think the biggest point is they, need to take, sack up and change your tune, change what you're doing in the hospitals. Check out what the doctor's saying. And no matter who's telling you, I don't know who's over the board of all this stuff. Try it. And then say, oh, well, they just need more oxygen. That's all. Or whatever. isn't that what you got from it, Dan? That's pretty much what it is. Instead, they're putting people on, intubators and stuff.
Ventilators.
It's
not doing the right thing. It's not doing the right thing. Did he mention, because I couldn't hear it, it was muted on my end, but was he talking about the hikers and how that was?
Yeah. That's what he said. He said, I don't know what it's like.
Stuff, yeah,
he said, I don't know what it's like, I've never been mountain climbing, but this is the symptoms that somebody would have if they were dropped off at the top of Mount Everest without adjusting,
Exactly. So it's almost like, people are getting the bends, dude.
Exactly, yeah. So 100,000 people, some of the numbers of the people that are dying, these statistics that we're seeing, are numbers that he's talking about. He's in one of the largest cities. Like he said he was, way ahead of everybody. And that's why he's doing it. I wish more doctors would speak up like that and talk about this type of thing.
And then the numbers that are coming out, there was reports coming out that were coming out in the news about people who are coming down with it, who have died from it, and their families are turning around and saying, that's not true. My family didn't die. My father didn't die of that. He died of something completely different.
Yeah.
And they're reporting this on the news, people's family members of having passed away from this. And you gotta think about this and say, well, what the hell is really going on?
I would really ask everybody
doing it to bring up the numbers or why? Because you think about it, the WHO was just freaking reported on Tucker Carlson, on Fox News, saying that they're going to have to go in there and physically remove individuals from the household because they think that they're suspect of having it.
Yeah, well, they can try to do that in my household.
What?
That ain't going to happen.
They're going to catch freaking a lot of bullets. Are you going to freaking pull that crap? Are you insane?
This ain't China, folks.
That's insane, dude.
You're not going to treat us like the Chinese. It ain't going to happen. And the Chinese are getting pissed off. They're ripping down towers and doing all kinds of stuff. They ain't got one. Think about it.
Exactly.
They ain't got one single case over there now or something. That's what I heard. It's like when I look at the numbers, how can a country that
who
damn
else
big
didn't get number? Mm-hmm. And you know who's almost equally as big as them and didn't have one case? India. And you know who doesn't have FIVEG? India.
I'm asking all of you guys right now to go on Google and type in that doctor's name and share it with everybody, please. And, even if he's wrong, which the way he's talking and looking, I don't think he's wrong. I think he sees what's really going on and he's stepping out to say it. And if I was him, I'd be ducking and covering right now. Because hopefully we're not China and we don't kill doctors that speak out, But listen, go find on Instagram, YouTube, Kelly Brogan, and then look up this guy's name. Okay? Cameron Kyle Seidel, Sidell, MD, and then share it with as many people as you can. Get the word out, just so they can get some pressure on this thing, just so they can at least attempt and try to look at what this doctor is saying. Because if he's right, then guess what? That intuition we were talking about on April Fool's Day about how a lot of this stuff there's some bullshit going on and we know it. There's some bullshit going on here, folks. And I don't curse a lot on the show, but there is some bullshit going on. And it's killing people. Your family, our countrymen, my friends, people, it's bullshit. And,
agreed.
This guy might lose his job for saying this stuff. But thank God that he did. Cameron Kyle Seidel, Sidell. He's already been on a few shows, so I don't think they'll take him out. But it is kind of funny that it just massively spreads in China. Of course, they did get pretty malignant over there about things. I mean, they were welding people in their homes, But I don't think this is what we think it is. I talk to a lot of you guys in the chat and stuff on a daily basis. And Amandala had been telling me for days, like, this is not... this is not a virus.
It's not a normal strain.
Yeah, it's not
a normal strain.
It's not. Doesn't act like a virus. It doesn't act like a pneumonia virus. Was what she said, and it doesn't make sense at all. And this is our problem, I think. Like, we really believe that we have to have people tell us what to do, even when our intuition, not our egos, but our intuition tells us something ain't right. Now, how do you tell the difference between your ego that's trying to protect you and your intuition? Usually, when your ego's on fire, yeah, right. Usually, when it's your ego, you're thinking you're trying to protect yourself. The ego likes to protect you, but your intuition will tell you other things. It'll do subtle things, or you'll have dreams about stuff, or just it's really, really deep down where you're like, well, something ain't right about this, I mean, how many times in your life have you done that? Like, I knew it. I knew it. I just didn't want to be paranoid. Right? And then other times in your life, when you were overly paranoid, getting into your ego, trying to protect yourself, living in fear or whatever, and you were totally wrong. So we just need to start discerning the difference and then trust ourselves is what I'm saying. Look what happens when we depend on the government. I don't trust these people.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, man. Like I don't trust them, man. They all are in bed with some of the biggest and largest corporations that don't give a damn about you, including the pharmaceutical companies, including the oil companies, the tech companies, the military companies. They got a damn grid that's going over the earth right now. They're building the Pentagon, which I'm pretty damn sure Elon Musk helped them launch this thing with all his secret missions. And they're building a grid. I'm talking about thousands of satellites grid. It's going to be here by August.
I mean, that's insane. That's like the space fence.
It looks like a space fence for sure. Yeah, it's the deep state, man. They're like caging us in. That's what it feels like, right? Like, let's build a technological cage for these sumbitches.
This is like, you know what this is? This is like the culmination of the mother of all conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? All coming in at once. And it's like, if you ever read the book 1984, it's like, this is how it comes in.
Yeah. But I think if everybody starts taking care of each other, right, and really speaks up and says, you know, like somebody gets all freaked out and says, oh, it's coronavirus, it's the worst pneumonia virus, you know, you might have to slap them. Go, hey!
Might have to.
Chill out for a second.
I got people looking at me when I go to the store and I don't have like a mask on or anything like that, and they have their masks on and their rubber gloves and whatever, and they're like giving me looks, and I'm like, yo man, can you smell anything through that? They're like, yeah. I was like, you ain't protected. So I was like, I don't know what the hell you think you're doing, but you ain't protected.
I mean, now they're saying now they're saying, well, the virus isn't airborne. You know, like, wait, so last week you're telling us it was airborne, freaking everybody out thinking it was outbreak. Now you don't know. Now you're changing your mind again. And then when you ask about the mask.
Because they said it was on surfaces.
Yep. They said, well, the mask is so you don't touch your face.
Don't touch your face.
Well, how about I just don't touch my face? Why do I got to look like Batman to do that, you know? I'm not a dog. I mean.
You touch your face 1,000 times a day. I'm like, why the hell would you want to touch your face 1,000 times a day? I was like, I touch my face maybe 3-4 times a day.
Yeah. What I'm saying is like, we don't need to be told what to do in this manner or how to live in this manner.
Thank you.
When we've got people that can't do their job or are doing a job with some underlying agenda that we do not see, that there's plenty of evidence out there to say that something else is happening. Why is the United States the one that's really suffering from this when we don't even compare to China or India or some of the population of these places that don't really have any cases anymore? I want you to really think about hidden agendas here. Why would they put you in your homes? Why do they want you to shut up and keep your eyes on media?
Right.
That's too obvious to me.
So they can continue the programming. You know, brainwashing is, repetition is the easiest form of programming, the simplest form of programming. And as long as they keep repeating it and repeating and repeating, you start parroting it.
That's right.
You know,
my dad is so freaked out.
Why are they stopping people from going to work from all across the border, but a couple of times a week, you can go to a central location where everybody can shop at the market.
Yeah, right. Yeah, where everybody's packed in like sardines, you know.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, if you want to spread a virus, that is a perfect way of spreading the damn virus.
Now,
get them to all come together in one place.
Again, I know people are going to say this. They're like, Joe, there's no way that a government would set up a bunch of towers, right? And, you know, fry the oxygen in your lungs because they're not that diabolical.
No.
Now, if you really believe that our government will not do things like that, corporations won't do things like that to hurt you. We don't work for the government. The government definitely doesn't work for us. We are working for corporations. We are working for a crony capitalist society that only cares about making as much money as they can as fast as they can. If you've ever studied capitalism or sales, I have. I've studied it. I was in sales. This is what they believe. They need to sell their products, whatever their services, products is, for as much money as they can, as fast as they can, and corner the market. Now, we already know the pharmaceutical companies will do this stuff to us. They'll kill us. They don't care. We already know that the food companies will do it. They'll kill us. They don't care. They can get sued. They'll file bankruptcy. They'll be fined. They don't care. What makes you think the tech companies won't do it? They already took our internet. We used to all have free, like, kind of wherever the bandwidth flowed, it flowed kind of thing. Wherever the demand was, that's where it went. It flowed like water. It doesn't do that anymore. It's run by 6 major corporations that get most of the bandwidth, and then they get to divvy it out and tell us what we get to do with it. You better get yourself a damn ham radio.
That's also under fire. If you go and you look at the latest stuff that had been happening since last year or 2018 on, California had announced that the benefits of ham radio are no longer found to be viable.
Yeah,
in California. And so they were starting to shut it down. Yeah, because it's an independent source of communication.
Yeah, they don't want you having that stuff either, right? They don't want you communicating by yourselves. So,
no.
I think if we're just naive, we should really look around and see how naive we are now. Because when this is all over, I don't know how long this is going to take, but when this is all over, we're going to see the truth. We're going to see it. This is going to be one of those times where we're going to be like, it's going to be blatantly obvious what happened. And then somebody's going to want somebody's head for it. There'll be a fall guy and a cover-up or whatever. It's all crazy. We can't depend on these people to take care of us anymore. If you want to, from here on out, when we come out of this thing, you want me to tell you what you do to stop this crap? Is you don't vote with your ballot. That's great. You go down and you vote with your ballot based on all the people that's talking and all this. Don't do that no more. Vote with your money. If you don't like somebody and you don't like what they're doing, don't buy their stuff. I don't care how convenient it is. Don't buy it. Now, I know that would make your world really hard. It'd make my world really hard, but we'd get our damn world back. That's if we make it out of this thing. If they don't cage us in like the Pentagon's doing right now with their what monkey cage of satellites they're going to put up in August or by August. And that's just the Pentagon. They're going to be putting up all kinds of different satellite systems and grids for just, I mean.
Oh, yeah. There was a lady who came on in North Carolina. Christ. She was some governor down there. And she goes that she was complaining about what was going on with everyone. She's like, everybody's home. We know because we got the data from the telecoms. Everybody's home. We're watching their phones. I was like, what did she just say?
Yeah, they actually can test if you have the coronavirus. They already did it in China already because China is ahead of us in a lot of ways in technology. Through 5G, they did that. Now, to hear what I'm saying, they tested someone to see if they had coronavirus with their smartphone.
How does that work?
Don't know, but I don't think it's very cool. I don't want to be sending medical information or my blood work or any type of crap that's in my body over a cellular phone network. Like, it's gone beyond stupid now. For some of you people out there that want to call everybody conspiracy nuts and buffs and all that, you're the one burying your heads in the sand. You're the problem. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to get angry. You know, like I'm not the angry guy. I don't speak angrily on this show. I mean, this show's about consciousness, but really, a part of consciousness is waking the hell up. And I'm getting stir crazy, Dan.
Yeah, you need to get out, man.
Yeah, I need to take a walk.
Smell
or
some
something,
dog.
right?
Smell some dog poop or something.
Yeah, right. I need to get out of here just for a little bit. I mean, I got things I want to do.
Pop some shells.
Stuff to do. The neighbor today did that. Like he's going to impress me. He wants us to know that he's got guns, I guess. This new guy that moved out here next to me, he shot off about 100 rounds in a matter of 3 minutes. I'm supposed to be impressed, but it's to let me know, and this is how people are already getting out here, to let me know that he's got guns, and we're not going to take nothing from him. This guy's an idiot. Everybody out here has an arsenal in their house. Everybody. Not just you, dumbass.
Exactly.
I mean, if everybody out here where I live at just shot off all their bullets at once, it would sound like World War II if you were in the middle of London when it got bombed. That's what it would sound like. Yep. It's bad out here. But anyways.
4 million, that there was a sticker that I saw that somebody had on the back of their car over here in Pennsylvania. It's like 4 million of us have carry licenses. You have a nice time visiting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't think that we're, I don't know. I want us to have faith in this, brother. I want to say, I think a lot of us are awake to this, but we are divided into two groups right now, big time.
Yes, and that's the problem. The problem is that we have to understand that we are not each other's enemies. Okay, that's primary number one. We are not each other's enemies. The enemies are what we're being led to believe. The enemies are the ones who are playing the authority game and trying to lead us by the nose. That's the enemy. Now, if we can come together as a people, as humanity, and can say, okay, well, we've had enough. You've had your little game. It was a cute little jaunt. You're done. You're done. You can go to your room now because you need to frickin' sit down and figure out what the hell you just did because we ain't taking it no more. And heads need to roll. I'm sorry, but heads need to roll.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over. The old gods need to die.
Yeah, the guys, we're all stuffed in our houses under quarantine, and Donald Trump is running for president, and you believe every word he says because he's your hero. I'm living in a comic book right now. I mean, what's coming next? Like zombies? Like real zombies?
Well, you vote for Biden, you will find some zombies.
I don't think we should vote for anything except just vote with our money. I know it was kind of a crack joke, but those bastards shouldn't be allowed to wear suits. They need to dress up like NASCAR drivers and put their sponsors on their suits so we can see who's really backing them. What are you really here for?
There used to be a site that showed that.
That showed all of the lobbyists and all of the people.
Yep. Pretty sure the site's gotten taken down because nobody's said anything about them.
And there's another group of people that really that think, we got the two groups of people, the people that want to live their lives and, they're trying not to live in fear, and the other group of people that are just wearing masks, running around all day, pointing their fingers at this group of people saying you're crazy and you're going to kill us all. Hey, you still don't get it. That's what they want. And then the doctors over here telling us, hey, something's not right with this treatment. And your intuition, when you look around at the numbers and the people that aren't passing away, or countries that got 10 times the population we do don't have a single case, you ought to wake up to that and say, yeah, maybe something ain't right, and figure this out for ourselves. And once we do that, then we can, we can roll some heads down. I'm down for that. I'm a little afraid of what you might do, though.
Got to right some wrongs, man.
you might get a little wild, huh? Triple fire sign, the Reverend Dan Lopez, Aries through and through. Your birthday's coming up, brother. We gotta have another birthday.
One of the first ones they try to take out.
You want to make my life? That's what I used to say to people, man. You want to make my life any worse? Take your shot. I ain't worried about it, Back when I was at rock bottom, I didn't care, And that's what they're going to...
I just went 2 years. I just went 2 years of freaking going through that every goddamn day. I'm like, please, what am I supposed to fear? Your ego getting crushed? I don't think so.
Yeah, like that's what they're doing to us as a society. But they know they can't do this forever. Trust me, they know.
They're pushing it to see how far it'll go. I'm telling you, it's like I was saying during your birthdays. I don't think they don't want it to come to shots. They really don't. They're going to see how far they can take it. I tell you, California. I feel sorry for you people out there in California. It's a horror scene. What this guy's doing. But on a lighter note, I learned how to make structured water.
Did you?
Ever heard of Dr. Emoto? Yeah, you ever heard of Dr. Emoto? You know about that stuff?
Yeah.
So anyway, I was watching some stuff, and I took a look to see how you could do this, because, the video came up across my feeds and stuff, and interested me, and it was talking about structured water. And I was like, all right, so how do you go about doing this stuff? So there's a bunch of stuff that you can get to do it. Or you can do it the natural way, which is basically get some, you basically get some tank beads, the little rocks you get, the rounded rocks you get, or marbles like stuff that you put in your tanks, in your fish tanks or whatever. So you get some of those, clean them up really good, and you get something like rose quartz, and you put it at the bottom of a soda bottle, right? And you get the rose quartz so that it's big enough that it won't go through. And then you clean that up. You put that in the bottom of the thing so that it's at the spout of the bottle. And then you have the marbles on top of it. And for some reason, when the water goes through the marbles, it causes torsion fields in the water, and then when it hits the crystal, it does something else to its vibration, and it actually alters the water's structure, so then it becomes structured water. Now, you have to check this yourself, you have to do it yourself, but I swear on my own life, I did it. I even asked my daughter to come down, and I says, listen, I want you to taste that water. I didn't tell her what it was. And she tasted it. I says, okay, you tasted it? All right, now taste that one. And she tasted it, and I says, was there a difference? She was like, yeah, there's a notable difference. I says, that one was from the tap, the first one, and the second one was the structured water.
Yep.
Even my daughter noticed the difference.
Tasted good too, didn't it?
The thing in the Dr. Emoto, it tasted great. I mean, you can still tell it's not like filtered, which is better. You put the filtered water in there, it's better, or the reverse osmosis water. So and you'll improve everything you put that water into. And I'm sure there's a lot of women in there who know about this, like Dawn and who will confirm that structured water is probably the best thing you could use for your own self, for your own plants, for your own animals and stuff like that. And they're saying, and if you look at the Dr. Emoto findings, the best vibrations were when they spoke love and gratitude into the water. Those actually got the best results of the structure that they were able to show pictures of. So I don't know about the benefits or everything like that, but I think it's mad lad stuff, man.
Oh my God.
So I'm ready to keep it going. What are you oh my God about now? Finding more stuff, hearing more stuff. Do tell, Joe. Dead air is terrible, man.
I'm reading. I am really like.
Oh, it'll do you in. It'll do you in. What you find now? What's
my
the
God.
latest?
You guys have triggered Ryan Gable on Facebook. You're starting to. You've triggered the wrong person. I can tell you that right now. Whoever's poking that bear is going to get a big taste of stupid. You're going to be full of stupid. and it's going to reflect back to you, you know. So people don't understand that we may disagree on a lot of things. Ryan and I do disagree on a lot of things, but we can have a conversation. And when you're an adult, you can have a conversation when you disagree on things, right? When you get on here on your pages or whatever, the first person that starts throwing mud loses, because you just ran out of, you know, anything, of rebuttals or anything that makes sense, or you lost. That is not a man that you want to debate unless you know what you're talking about. So there's people on here that are just, I mean,
like you said, poking the bear.
Yeah. This is insane. Now, back to what we were saying before, though. So Yahoo's talking about worldwide confirmed cases reach 1.1 million with more than 62,000 deaths. Okay. That's what they're telling you. Now, is that important to read that big flyer, or is it more important that this doctor's coming out and saying, hey, I think we're treating this all wrong, and it's going to cause a lot of people to die more than it needs to? Which one should we be paying more attention to? The numbers that they keep flashing in your face to freak you out, or the doctor that's willing to stand up in front of a million other doctors knowing that he can lose his job because, you know, to tell everybody that they need to look at something and do something different? That's the problem. That's what I'm talking about. And you got all these people here arguing with Ryan underneath this post, and they're missing his whole point too. So it's the polar-minded mentality that just really just destroys everything. If you got a this or that mentality and you can't see both sides of something, you can't really see both sides of something. Like, you know, have some rationality, like, for F's sake, then we're doomed. I mean, I hate to say that. I don't want to say we're doomed, you know, because I don't want to be negative, but really, like, you know.
I know. I mean, I agree with you. If there's any behavior that needs to be changed beyond freaking washing your hands, it's that. It's that. Being civil to one another in conversation, in caring, in judgment. It's time you got to unify. You got to unify.
I hope that everybody's having fun, though, at least. And this is the good thing. When things get so crazy, you start getting delusional, where you just start having fun. You drink a big bucket of effort, you know. You turn into Sam, and you start not giving a damn. I mean, my dad is going crazy, man. He would call me up, talk to me, tell me, oh, well, today they said on the news this. Well, today they said on the news that.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Pop, man, you need to chill out. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're one of those people that just don't care. You just don't give a shit, do you? Because you're not going to die. I will die, but you won't. You know, that's all that matters. And then he hangs up the phone, and I can't deal with it, man. You know, like, they got so many old people scared, and it's stupid. It's stupid. You don't have to scare people. You can just say, hey, do this, do that. We're working on something. We're going to figure it out. Hey, this doctor came out who's a normal citizen. He thinks we're doing this all wrong. We're going to check that out too. We're going to fix it. You know, reassure people and let us know how you're going to fix it. Don't keep telling us you don't know what's going on or keep changing your mind about it. Now these bastards are starting to act like the people that are trying to discover dark matter. They change their mind about that every 2 weeks too. It's not a pneumonia virus. I'm sorry, but this is going to be one of those things where I'm thinking that I'm going to stand on. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But in the Fringe FM chat, so what we've done, there's a stream thing down there you can go into. They actually have this really cool thing where you can stream video for the whole, like, everybody in there now. And I've turned that on, so if you guys want to, like, Skype or play video games or watch a movie and chill and talk, like this, that's a place to go if you get bored, is the Fringe FM chat, the fringe.fm/chat room. Sometimes it gets stagnant because, you know, people have lives they're trying to live, but for the most part, we're all in there just kind of hanging out. And I'm going to look for some more stuff to do for us while this is going on, because I don't want to stay in the negative. We'll stay informed, but I'm not we're not just going to stay in the negative the whole time, you know? I guess we can take this call. I think we got a few minutes to take a call. Looks like 270 area code. You're on the air. Who are we speaking with? Where are you calling from?
It's Deborah in Kentucky, Joel.
Hey, Deborah. How are you?
Hi. This is just a couple of minutes, and it's like more on a personal note. Number one, will you please pull the contribution that I contributed on the 1st of April? It's still sitting there. I want you to have that.
Yeah, I gotta get with you on that because they want me to have your full address too when I went to do it, and I didn't have it, and I've been meaning to get with you. And you're I hope you're not mad at me, you know. So like, but I love you anyway.
Absolutely not. There's no reason to be mad. I just want it to get taken care of. And secondarily, I have a direct question for Dan that's on a personal note.
Sure.
Are you interested in anything that relates to energy medicine, Dan? Because I've got some things I would love to contribute to your life, and I would need an address to be able to send something to you.
If you want to hold it on, sure, I can give you that.
Or let's do it this way, Joe. I can give my voicemail number to you so that for sure I don't miss a call, and then we could take care of business on my end, and then
I can just write this number down that I see you right now if you like, and we can get in touch with you that way.
That's home phone number. It's not easy to get to me sometimes because I'm up all night. I sleep some into the day.
You mean you don't have a computer you stare at 24/7 like I do?
Remember I told you
yeah,
that I don't have computer.
Good for you. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, but anyway, I'll give this number because it's a voicemail number. It's going to go out over the air, but it's all right.
Hold on a second. It won't. They don't have to. Now you can give it. And you can give whatever number you want. They can't hear you.
Dan's information so that there can be some communication directly.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Just if you don't mind hanging out just a few minutes, because we only got just a couple of minutes and we're going to end this thing. And yeah, thank you. I was meaning to get back with you because you wanted to contribute. So thank you for that. And I was trying to send when you donate to the show and when you contribute, if you don't use PayPal and you use like a debit or credit card, it wants your address and all that stuff too, because they want to make sure that it's not fraud and all that stuff. So yeah, it is what it is. But I really I really hope I didn't come across as an a-hole tonight or anything. It's just like I want everybody to just try to have the right mentality about this. People aren't just stirring up stuff or arguing because not everybody's afraid. Some people just actually care. That's, they care about other people and they want this stuff to stop. And when a doctor comes out and says something like that, it's not more about wondering if 5G is, killing people because it's cutting off oxygen supply in your lungs. And it's not really all about that, even though that could be a possibility. It's more about we need to look at what he's talking about first. And I would ask all of you to spread that to as many places as we can and then let the doctors decide, because if they get enough pressure on them, they'll do it. And that's what it's all about, because that's all we can do right now. But I mean, you heard him say it, Dan. He said, look, I'm fairly sure that if people will do this and what I'm talking about, that I'm confident that we'll find what's really going on here and find a treatment for this.
Yep.
It's pretty big stuff.
They didn't have my, somebody must have watched it, because my father they didn't put him on a ventilator and they only put him on oxygen. And only recently they took him off the normal oxygen with the big mask, and now they just have him with the nostril hoses.
Yeah.
So he's he's getting less oxygen. He needs less oxygen, which is a good thing. It's a good sign.
That is a good sign. See? All right, well, we're going to roll out of here. Now, tomorrow night's going to be an interesting show, too. Marty Leeds is coming back. He hadn't been on here in a while. And this guy's when it comes to the esoteric, using, things like gematria and numerology and numbers, there's nobody better on the planet than this guy. You can go check out his YouTube channel at Marty Leeds just to kind of prepare for the show. And Thanks for coming on, Dan, and hang out there, Deborah. We're going to get out of here. I do want to thank Pacho for making this happen, a.k.a. Patrick Newland, our executive producer here. I want to thank people at the Fringe FM, Barbara, Amanda, Jeremy Scott, Eric Markham, Dave Cruz, Dennis for helping out too, and Don, all of you guys in the Fringe FM chat. I love you. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
Discretion is advised.
Dum dum, diddle dum dum, diddle dum dum, diddle dum dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and cover. He did what we all must learn to do. You and you.